Okay, so I'll leave the rendering for a little while, and I will come back to it though. But I'm going to go back to the plan and decide on an area for my amenities. So, I mean, I was just thinking this area here. I don't know if you had any particular. Oh, toilets are going there, are they? Right. Okay. So, did you have any area planned for the amenities?
Your shower will go there as well.
Okay. All right. So I'll do the bathroom there. That's fine. Where are you going to put the meal room or anything like it? Oh, in here or sorry. Yeah, above. Yeah. Oh, so the meal room there, and then the toilets next to them. Oh, okay. Okay. A storeroom, and so you're not going to have a meal room. You need one in a workplace. Meal. Yeah. Yeah. So you need at least some sort of basic kitchen facilities, and usually you have a meal room. Yeah, kitchen and a yeah. Oh, down here on the ground floor. Oh, on the upper floor. Okay. All right. Yep. So I'll put it there. That's actually probably a good place for it because they've at least got some views there. So, um, okay. So I'll do that. And
Yeah, some sort of common area for the warehouse and the office, is that?
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So with some basic kitchen facilities and some sort of area where people can eat and things like that. So, uh, okay. So I'll just put a wall in here, and I think I've just been using generic walls, so I'll stick with that. And so it's coming off this mullion, and we'll make it go up to the ceiling. Center line. Just try and get that centered. There we go. So maybe something like that, and then we can put the kitchen up against that. I'll try and work out some sort of design. It's a bit better later, but no, sorry. So the basic idea when you're working with the components for kitchens is that you place the casework first. So when you go to load a family,
The case works, right?
yep. So it's all classed as casework within Revit, all joinery. So you should be able to find, even in just the basic Australian library, these cabinets. Now, if you've installed the additional content, you'll maybe find some that are better. So this is a bigger library that I have, but still all content that you can get by installing the program in different ways. So I've just got lots of extra cabinets and things there. Maybe I'll just use the more basic ones that you'll find in the regular Australian library. So I've got some different cabinets here, and notice they don't have benches on them. Well, some do, but it's better to use the one without benches, and you'll see why in a minute. Okay, so I'll just use space to flip this and put it up against the wall, and maybe I'll grab a corner one now. Yep, that'll do. And now I'll just put it up against the wall and then move it afterwards. Okay, so I'll just nudge those down. Doesn't really matter, so I'll just put that down a bit more. And probably wouldn't need a hot plate, so just a sink, fridge, and basic bench might be enough. So maybe just one more cabinet, and actually rather than loading a new one, I'll just copy the one that I already have. And rotate it. So you can see a few little changes with 2012. The icons are a little bit different. I think they're much clearer. Okay, so that's all lined up. Don't worry that the display is a little bit different. You can see here, you can see the inside of the carcass on these two-door cabinets, but on the corner you can't. Doesn't matter because that's all going to be covered up anyway. So I've got a basic little kitchenette there, I suppose. And so now to put the bench top in, it's best to model in place. So that's the reason you generally don't want to bring cabinets in that have benches. It's better to model the bench afterwards. It's really easy to create, and in most kitchens the bench is going to be a different shape anyway, so it's much easier just to make one as you do each kitchen. And so using model in place, just going to set that to casework, and I'll call this kitchen bench. So with an extrusion, the extrusion start, I'm going to make 870, just because I know these cabinets are set to that height, and then I can make my extrusion end 900, so that's going to give me a 30mm bench top, and it should sit on top of the cabinets. So now I can use pick lines with an offset here. Now, believe it or not, when I was at uni, I was working in a cabinet making workshop, making kitchens, and I can't for the life of me remember what the standard overhang was. I think it may have been 50, something like that. It varies from kitchen to kitchen anyway. And then here we may want a bigger overhang, so maybe 200 or something. Put that back to 0 to pick the wall, and this edge won't have an overhang, and then actually I should have one on here, 50mm as well. So they're all the edges I want. I can just trim that all together. Okay, so that's the shape of the bench that I want, and I'll just finish that. And so I might just finish the model there, and I'll just make a quick camera view. Don't know, you may want to put the bench up against the wall, I don't know. I don't know if that layout really works, but anyhow, the design's up to you. So I've got a quick camera view so I can see through into that area. So there's the bench on top of the cabinets. Yeah, I don't like that layout. Actually, I might just give you a few pointers. If you do want to change things, when you want to adjust an in-place family, it's usually a good idea to edit in place. You can move it. I can move this around now, but that's moving the whole family. And with simple elements that have been created using the default work plane, it's usually not a problem. But if you've used different work planes, it can cause problems because it'll remember the work plane you created it on. And so it's just good practice to edit in place, then change the solid. So edit in place. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to mirror this, just using, it won't let me pick that, so I'll have to use mirror draw axis. That's okay. Just going to flip that and move it down, and so now my depth needs to change, and I can set up the extrusion. So 630, this one now will be the same. Still not over the moon about the layout, but I think it'll be slightly better. Finished model, and then I can just flip all of my cabinets. Now that was clever of me. I forgot to turn the copy option off when I mirrored, so I've got an extra solid there. And so I can flip these, and I'll just mirror them roughly to begin with. This time I will turn copy off, and I'll see if I can just find an axis here. It will let me pick, and then I can move them down. Something like that. So back in the camera view now, see the change. So going back to the plan, if you want to add things like kitchen sink, again using component, load family, you'll find plenty of those in the library under plumbing fixtures. There should be some. No, there's none there, so I'll go to my other library. In the International Metric Library, you should definitely find some there. So here we go, so there's a kitchen sink there. And no, I don't care about plumbing fixtures. And so using space, you just got to watch out with these. Some of them go in at the correct height, others go in on the ground. It really just comes down to the person who made the family. This one here, you can see it's got an offset of 0, but if I look in the 3D view, you can see that it is sitting on top of the bench, so it's okay. But you've got to check, sometimes you'll see this 3D sink sitting on the ground. If it is, just put the height of the bench in there as an offset and that fixes it. So I'm going to nudge this down a little bit. In wireframe, I can see well, if I was going to use this sink, I'd have to I'd have to edit the cabinet, so I don't really want to do that. So I might load a new family. So by clicking Edit Type, I can click Load, and I'm going to grab a smaller sink. That one's just too big. So back in plumbing fixtures, this one is smaller. Like I said, if you've got the extra content, you'll find a lot more. And in Revit City and other places, you'll find plenty as well. So I'm just going to grab this nice small one. Okay, that's much better. Awesome. So in the 3D view, now you can see it's not at the right height. So again, it just comes down to the person who's made it, and they probably haven't put in a variable or a parameter for the height. So there, I need to look at it in section, and my section view is just missing it, so I might just nudge that down and then go to that view, and so I can see there with thin lines on exactly how far it needs to be moved up. So it's only 50mm down. 850 is used as a bench type by people who haven't done many kitchens. I would never do that again. Having worked in one, it's just too low for people who are an average height, and it really does damage your back. 950 is actually becoming more common than 850, but I know a lot of smaller stature people prefer the 850 benches, but I think 900, you know, there's a reason it's standard. So anyhow, offset 50, and there we go. Still a little bit low, unfortunately. So, you know, not a bad looking sink, but there's some issues with the family was made, with the way the family was made, but easy to fix. So 55, and there we are in the 3D view now. It's sitting at the correct height, but the bench is going through it. So now I can simply go back to the bench in the plan view, edit in place, select the solid, edit extrusion, and depends how correctly you want to model this, but I would just pick the edges of the inner bevel of the sink there, and that'll cut a hole out of it. So back in the 3D view now, you can see that looks okay. Unfortunately, you can't finish a family while you're in a perspective view, so back in the plan, I can tick finish model. And at that finally. So that's basically the process you can use for every kitchen. And if you're doing a completely custom kitchen, you may need to model the cabinets. Again, just model in place. If it's custom, it's probably a one-off anyway. But having built a lot of kitchens, nearly all the cabinets are made in the same way anyway. So the ones in the library are just fine. With bathrooms, it's a little bit more involved, but again, you get a lot of it from the library. Okay, so just to get started, I'll put a wall across here. Now, is it unisex or? Oh yeah, sure. I'm going to move the wall once I've got the cubicles in there. Oh, down here is it? Oh, okay. Oh, right. Okay. So what's that for? Is it just corridor? Oh, okay. Because then, what's that space for? Just to.
This one for the toilets.
Yeah, but all the empty space that you'll have if you've got a corridor going all the way.
And this one for storage.
Oh yeah, sure. So you can have a storeroom here, or anyhow.
And we need to put the shower.
Yeah, sure. So I'll get all those things in, and yeah, but I mean, there's no point having a corridor going all the way to the end if there's a room, that's down at the end anyway. It's just a bit of a waste of space. So anyhow, I'll just draw a wall across, and things like this, you can plan them out as you place the components. So I'll just get this wall in here. So that's basically the usable space that you've got, and then you can just work out how things fit in the most efficient way, I suppose. So I'm going to go to component again, load family, and there are complete kitchen bathroom stalls, toilet stalls, toilet cubicles in the library somewhere, and plumbing fixtures in the Australian one, no. In international metric, plumbing fixtures, I probably haven't got it there either. So you can use these. I mean, you can just use a regular WC, but I'll show you in the full library. Sure, there's a cubicle somewhere. Oh, here, sorry, there it is, toilet cubicles. Okay, so that can save you a bit of time using those. Have you worked out how many WCs you need at all? Toilets? How many? Do you know how many you need? Just one? Okay, yeah, just one unisex? Yep, yep, sure. And it's going to be unisex disabled, I suppose. Sorry, yeah, unisex. Yep, yep. Okay, so if it's disabled, then the cubicles probably wouldn't be used anyway. So I'll just use a regular WC. Pretty straightforward. You can just choose them from the library. Now, sorry, International Metric Library. Now, if you're going to, sorry, if you're only going to see it in plan, just use the 2D toilets. Most of the time you don't need to see a 3D WC. In section? Yeah, sure. The 2D one, it's got a view from one side in section, but not from both sides. So yeah, so if you use the 3D one, you'll get views from all sides. It's a little bit messier than the 2D one, but for a project this small, the 3D one would be fine. In big projects, it's a real problem if you use the 3D toilet throughout, because you'll have hundreds of them, and they, you just want to keep the file size down where you can. So if you've got to have a unisex disabled, that would be perfect. That's basically the size of a unisex disabled. I can just tell looking at it. Okay, so something like this, and then that'll give you room for the handrail and everything you need on the wall. And sliders, you probably worked this out already, sliding doors for unisex disabled are definitely the way to go. So the basin, again, pretty straightforward, just loaded in from the library. So the only really tricky thing is getting the floor tiles done, and so I'll just grab a basin. And they're horrible, the ones that come in the default library, the hand basins. This one's probably about the best, but it's still terrible. This one's okay, but it's only 2D. And in the full library, I know I've got lots more. Here we go, so some of them are a bit better. This one's at least got a pedestal, so that's the one I'm going to grab. Even though, actually, if it's disabled, for disability access, then you need clearance underneath it, so you can't actually have a pedestal that goes to the ground. So, basins and sinks, and I know there's another one here that will be fine. Yeah, this one I'm sure will be okay. No, this is all just families that you get. In fact, a lot of it might be on the P drive. I'll just double check. I did put some extra families there for you. Oh, okay, looks like someone's cleared out a lot of it. So I'll copy it back over. I know it's getting really full, this drive, so they tend to clear out the big folders. I've got 3 gig free, so I can copy it back on tonight. It may only stay there for one night, but I'll copy it back over. So I'll copy this whole folder across. And yeah, I think that's going to be about the best one. Kind of a residential basin, but it'll do. So something like that should be okay. Okay, so with the tiles, now it's definitely worth putting the door in first. So a cavity slider there would be good, and again in the full library, this one's in a funny place. It's, I think, indoors, and then there's a surface mounted slider. I'm pretty sure there's a cavity slider here actually. So it's just so many doors there. I'll just use the surface mounted one. Cavity slider would definitely be better, but I don't want to waste time looking for it. I'll copy this over and you can have a look for it. It is in there somewhere. Anyhow, I'll just use the surface mounted. So and you'll see when I go to do the tiles why it's worth having the door there. So, and you've got to check the clearances. There are requirements for that. And you know, these are much more prone to failure than cavity sliders. So, in a situation like this, it's always preferable to have a cavity slider. Not in the bathroom. You wouldn't normally put it in the bathroom anyway, because then people can't. Oh, it would be, you'd have a separate shower room. Like you'd have a separate access to it normally. Oh yeah, I'll do the shower as well. So I'll put that along here and I'll work out the storeroom or something. So yeah, but it's just good to have separate access. Otherwise, people, you know, are going to be waiting around, which, in practical terms, could be a problem. So, okay, so I'm going to just put the tiles into this room, and so I've got a floor there, which I think is just on the underside. I've just used a crossing window to select everything under that wall, and then with filter I'll just select the floor. Just want to make sure there's only one floor there, and there is. Okay, so then my floor edge goes along the outside edge of the wall. Now, if you want the tiles to be shown in section, then you need to make a separate floor. So you need to cut a hole out of that area and put a new floor in with essentially the same settings as the original floor, but with a different floor lining. And so you can have that material showing up in your section as a separate material. Where the materials are the same, it'll join to the other floor. And that approach works. But otherwise, if you don't need to show the tiles in section, and honestly you don't normally, only beyond CC stage would you need to show them in section. For a CC you wouldn't normally show them in section because you usually do. Yeah, but that's right, you're doing working drawings probably, so you will need to. So, well, you're doing sort of half and half between CC. They're not quite full working drawings, but it's more than you do for a regular CC. So, so yeah, I will cut the hole out of the floor, but I just wanted to point out the other approach would be to use split face. So you can split the face of the floor and then just assign a new material to that region that you've split off as a separate face. I'll just quickly show it to you. It's really useful. So I'm going to select my floor edge, and you can see when I go to the edge of the wall there, that on the status bar it's telling me I've got the floor highlighted. And so now I can just draw the edge, and I'll use pick lines just to pick my walls to do that. So all the edges I need. So it's got to go under the or into the door threshold as well. Okay, so they're all the edges I need, and then I can just split this one and then trim it back. I'm drawing this fine. Okay, so that's the shape I want my tiles to be. Finish this, and then in manage, I can go to materials, and I've got a ceramic tile material there, but I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to call it ceramic tile bathroom, and then I can change the render appearance. We're probably not going to see this rendered anyway, so I'm not going to change that. But you can see the default material is a little bit ordinary, so there are much nicer tiles you'll see in the render library if you do want to change them. Maybe I will, because it's so easy. Just choose some other tiles. And then under graphics, you set the surface pattern. And so there, we've got 250mm square tiles. For a bathroom like this, they might not be that size, so you can just browse and put in a new size. So it might just be 150mm squares, or you can make a new pattern and put in your own line spacing. But I'm happy with that size. So got a cut pattern, which I want as well, but I'll only be seeing that in the second approach I'm going to show you. So now I want to use that material. Under modify, you've got paint, and so there I can now pick the split face that I've just made. Now you've got to be careful here. You can see I actually missed, and I forgot to choose my material anyway, so I'll just undo that. So I'll do again paint. Now you need to choose the material that you're going to use, and so that's why I made it in advance. and so it was ceramic tile bathroom, and oh, sorry, I shouldn't have clicked done. So again, just ceramic tile bathroom, and okay, so that should be the right one. Yep, there we go. Okay, so that's a really easy way of doing it just for the plan, and also 3D views, it'll come up as well, but in section it won't. So I'll just make a section through that. So you can see the bathroom just looks the same as the other floors, and my sink's sitting on the ground, so we'll bring that up too. For disabled access toilet, it's got to be lower than normal, but that's about right. So, you know, it's great for DAs and things like that though, but for a CC, obviously you may need to see it in section. So if you've got a split face and you want to get rid of it, you can use tab, and you can see on the status bar it's telling me that I've got the split face now, so I can click to select that, delete it, and that gets rid of just that face on the surface of the floor. And so now I can use the same method to get the floor that I used before. Edit boundary, and I'm going to cut a hole in that floor. So just picking the same edges I chose before, and I don't care if the lines overlap. Now, if it's a cavity slider, the tiles would stop halfway through. Generally, don't want to see the tiles under the door when the door's closed. Okay, so that's the shape of my tiles. Finish, and now there is one other approach, which would be to stack the floors. And this often happens if people haven't made an allowance for the tiles before laying the slab, or enough of an allowance compared to the main floor lining. The tiles will sometimes be raised above the main floor lining. It just means they haven't actually planned it out, but that does happen. Or sometimes if the floor linings are a similar thickness. It depends how you want to do it. I mean, you could always make this one a bit thicker anyway and raise it up, but it's nice if they're at the same height, and you can easily achieve that. So I've got here this floor, which is concrete 225mm. So looking at the components there, I've only got a concrete slab. So I'm going to insert a floor lining. So probably for the bulk of the flooring it would be carpet. So I'm going to move this up so that it's outside the core boundary. It's not a structural component, obviously. You never have structural carpet. And I mean, if you want to, you can put the whatever they call it, the underfelt or whatever it is below the carpet. You can put all that in if you really want to, but it's probably easier just to have one component that covers all of that. So about 20mm, something like that. And then the carpet material I'll leave with the render material it has by default, but I don't like having a surface pattern on carpet, so I'm going to duplicate it and call this, just call it carpet office. And I'm just going to set it to have no surface pattern. And I don't really want it to have a cut pattern either. So that should be okay. If you're really fussy, you can, and often this comes down to the way you're going to work with the contractors. You can use the slab thickness for your level. So you'd have the slab set at 0, and then the carpet would be above that. So you're always measuring the levels to the structure. But I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to do it to the finished floor level, which is absolutely fine. It's just another way of doing it. So, and if you're going to do that, you should put FFL on your levels. So that's it, just click OK, and so now I can make a new floor. And with any luck, I can just use pick lines and then use tab, and it should give me, yep, the outline of the hole that I've just cut. And I can then go to the same floor I was using previously, edit type. Now, I've ended up with 195. I don't know why I called it 225. Well, let's make it that. So there must have been a reason. So I'll make this 200. It's probably too thick for a ground floor slab, but I'll just leave that. So I fixed the old one up, and now I'll make the new one, which so I'll call this concrete 225mm tiled, and then I can just edit this and change the material there to the ceramic tile bathroom that I made, and finish it. Good to go. The section there, you'll see, shows a division between the two floors, and I'm going to go to Define so you can see the components. If you use join geometry there, you can join those two floors together, and where they've got the same material, it's joined, but where it's got separate material, it's not. Now, the wall there is correct, it's coming down to the slab, as it should, and then the floor lining's inside that. That's the point of breaking up the components into the ones inside the core and the ones outside the core. The line that's coming across there is actually the level. So you can see that there. I've just highlighted it so you can see that. That's the level. It's just the dash ends up being right on the wall there. But anyhow, that is shown correctly. Yep, sure. Not as part of the floor, no. Also, you could put a slope in, but it would slope the whole floor. So no, you wouldn't normally bother putting that into the floor itself. The slope is very slight. It's less than a degree.
That's the next require.
He wants to see the slope in the section. Yeah. So you wouldn't see it in a section like this. This is a 1 to 100 section. So what you would do, exactly. So what you do there is make a call out view. Now, what's going on there is this. That's the change. I'll just leave that out. So if you make a call out from that area for your bathroom detail, and then in there set whatever scale you want. So it may just be 1 to 20 even, and then over the top of that with detail elements, you could draw that in. Okay, so using a region, using a filled region. Okay, so you'd start by making a new pattern. So we can call this tile section or something. And then I'm going to set the fill pattern, so it would be it would be a drafting pattern, and I think it was the crosshatch. I just have to check which one the tiles have, but I think that was one of these anyway. And then draw in your slope. So I'll just get it going to the midpoint. So you need to work out where the floor waste is, but it would be somewhere around here. I'm just going to type SM to get the midpoint there, and then I'll mirror that so you can get that angle worked out, and then I'll draw in the axis there, and there it'll probably be easiest just to split that line here should be right. Mirror them across. And yep. And then draw a line in. Oh, now why isn't that symmetric? That's weird. Okay, so I don't know what I did there, but I'll just move this across. Okay, so with a line now connecting them, that'll work as a filled region. I just need to check that those two are joined. Yep. Now I'll just quickly finish, and you can see it's kind of okay, but the well, the pattern's got to have the smaller crosshatch. That's okay, but the lines around the edge don't match what I had before. But you can just go around and match those as best you can. So here, that's a thin line. That's okay. This one though needs to be a heavier line. So with either 0.35 or no, we don't have a pen for it. So I say 0.5. Yeah, that's close enough. And so this one as well can be the same, 0.5. And these two. There we go. So that's the way to do it, just in 2D. Most things like that, there's no point trying to get it from a 3D model, especially if it's only going to be in 1 or 2 views. And so even things like the railing that you need to have, the handrails and things, I'd just draw them in 2D over your section. So just a you know, detailed lines, probably just with thin lines, and you know, so I'll just put one on here. I don't think you would actually need one here, but I guess you do need one alongside the basin. Forgotten where it needs to go exactly, but something like that. And round the ends off or something as well. So all those things really easy to do in 2D. That's what I was saying before, knowing the you know, old way of doing things in AutoCAD can help, because that's really what you're doing here. Just drawing away in 2D. So, yep, something like that. So, shower room, basically the same. And yeah, now I didn't think this through that well. The bathroom would maybe need to move along. Anyhow, I'll just put the shower up here. I'll just quickly show you the family. And I won't actually do the whole thing. So using the shower stall family. There's a 2D and a 3D one. So if you don't have the full library, I think even in just the International Metric Library, there is one there. There we go, shower stall 2D. If you want it to come up in your sections, you might need to look in the full library that I'll copy across. And I'm sure there's a 3D one somewhere. Here we go, 3D shower stall. So that's it. And if you really want to go all out and put in a shower head that you're going to see in section as well, you'll find those in the library in Autodesk Seek. There are quite a few of them. Here we go. So these are all shower units that you can download, and yeah, really easy. So I think I've shown you this before, but I'll just do it again. So it's changed a little bit. Just need to tick the format you want over here and download. Set their conditions. open it directly, and it'll open straight into Revit. It's a bit over the top, that one, but I'll use it anyway. So load into project. Now why is this not maximised? Okay, so it doesn't like one of the types. Now, sorry, I didn't realise I'd maximised this. You may have had part of the screen cut off. That's recording to there. So anyhow, it's still going to use the one of the types has worked, so that's fine. And then back on the ground floor, clicking on component now, it's still loaded. I can just place that in. Now, you may not want to see it in your plan view, so you can always just hide it in that view, but you'll get it in the section view at least. So hide that in the plan, but in the section, there it is. So otherwise, exactly the same as doing the bathroom. For things like the floor waste, again, just detail lines. So, but also, sorry, a detail component could be handy. So under component there, you've got detail component, and family under annotations, and then symbols, general, no. So back to international metric, annotations, and again, I know there's a floor waste here somewhere. It's not a difficult thing to draw manually anyway, but have a look, you may find one there. Maybe under architectural, no. So, mechanical, no. Anyhow, I'm sure there is one somewhere in there. There's a lot of annotation symbols, so I don't want to go through all of them. So here, it'll be simple just to draw a filled region with a solid fill. So there's no solid white at the moment. You could actually use a masking region as well, I suppose, but here I think a solid fill would be better. So duplicate, and I can make a solid white, set the colour there to white, and I'm just going to draw a circle, so somewhere around here, something like that. Probably needs to move, but so that's just going to need a couple of lines crossing over it, and I'll make sure it's centered. So I'll just rotate that with copy, and oh, that's weird. There we go. And then dashed lines usually depends. Some people don't use dashed lines, but I think it's clearer. So hidden would be okay, and I'll just do it centered. It may not actually be in the center necessarily, but as good as any. So we go something like that, floor waste, and then obviously we could do with some text. Pretty straightforward. FW. At 1 to 100, it's going to be big, but yeah, that's still going to be very small text. So that's really it for bathrooms, I think. There's not much more I can tell you than that. You'd label the WC and the basin usually as well, and the shower should all be labelled. So you can make a legend as well to go with all of those things. And legends actually are really easy once you get to this stage. So if you haven't seen legends before, let's quickly make one under view. If you go to legends, legend, and I'll do it at 1 to 100 because that's the scale of this drawing. Legend 1, I'll just leave that name. So I've got now a new legend view. And so I can place legend components here using annotate, and then there under component you've got legend components. So you'll see now on the options bar I've got a list of all the families that I've used, and so I can place that WC, plumbing fixtures, toilet domestic 3D. So there we are, so I can have that there. And like I said, it should be labelled, so you can do, unfortunately you've got to do the label twice. Legends are still a bit hands-on, you've got to do a lot of things manually. So my text height there, actually 1.8 would be fine here, so it would be, you know, WC here or something. And then next to that you would put the actual text that describes what it is for all those people who don't know what WC means. So it might be 2.5 mil for labels, and okay, so and then you can have all the items that you've used, all the symbols you've used in your drawing, like that, so basin and things like that. So back to here. So basin as well, it's going to be in that list of plumbing fixtures. Oops, I changed it. And all the others. That is the 900. Probably it's good to show that the waste on your shower as well. So just copy the text and label all of these. So it's not automated, the labeling, but you know, if you change these symbols, they change in the legend. Okay, so those things can all go on your plans. Okay, there's not much room there for them, but let's see. Just nudge that up a bit. Okay, so near the other symbols down here, maybe we can fit that in. And there we go. So you can have all those things built up as a full legend on your sheets. And unlike views, you can use legends repeatedly. So if I had another drawing with those same symbols, it's no problem to use the legend again. So they are really handy, but A lot of people don't know how to use them, so they don't use them.
Yeah, I was trying to do a legend.
Yeah. Yeah. No, first time I went to use it, it stumped me. But then once I figured out the components and the fact that you've got that legend component only on the annotate tab under component, that's where you get the legend components. Once you know that, then they're pretty straightforward.
I was trying to do a legend for a site analysis plan, so it was kind of complex.
Yep.
But I was a bit stumped at what the best approach was to do that. You might have to explore and annotate.
Sure. I mean, if you're using the symbols over and over again, it's definitely a good idea to make a detail family, and then they'll come up in your legend components as well.
And if I want to make a line, color,
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so under manage, you've got the line styles, and then so here, most of them are black, but actually you do have some that are coloured already. And so you simply set the colour here when you make. Oh yeah, sure. So you just go to new subcategory. They call them subcategories, but the category is lines. And then so if you go to new, and so there's only the one category there, and so give a name, and so I'll call it red line or something. Okay, so that's my new line, and I can set colour there, or you can do your RGB or whatever. That's it. So yeah. So, oh yeah. So I'll just quickly do the cameras a little bit more because then I'll just do a lot of stuff with the internet things that I was going to show you as well. So where's the view I had? So 3D View 2 is the one I just made. And so you can see there, it's actually not picking up the full view, I suppose, or it's not picking up everything that you would normally be able to see if you were looking through this space. So back in the plan, to see here what it sees, you can right click on the view name and then go to show camera, and it's going to show you the field of view and the view depth. So at the moment, you can see it's cut off on the edge of that building, so that's why it doesn't show all of it. So you can always extend that. It's determined by the target, so I didn't put my target very far from the camera, so it cut the view depth off fairly close to the camera. So now, looking back in the view, you can see it's showing a deeper view. Now here, if I adjust the crop region, that changes the field of view. So if I widen that out, obviously I can see more, but the camera hasn't moved. So it's essentially changing the field of view, or the focal length, but that isn't obvious if you haven't done any photography, I suppose. If you've worked with a lens, it would be, but just got to watch out for that. It's fine to do it a little bit, but if you go too far, you're going to have a really wide field of view, and the view's going to look unusual. I'm not sure if I think I did go through this a little bit before, but you can see there the view has widened. I'm going to widen it right out, just to make sure this is all clear. Now here I'm actually very close to the walls either side, so I'm going to walk that view in a little bit. Using the steering wheel, you can do that, but I'm going to make sure I've got the full navigation wheel, just because it gives you more controls. And I'm going to walk in a little bit. So with the walk option there, you can just hold that down and then move the cursor forward a little bit, and it's going to bring the camera forward physically. And now I'm going to, again, just look back in the plan view. I can't see my camera anymore, so I've got to right click and show camera on the view name. And it's still not as far forward as I'd like, so I'm actually just going to move that forward now, which essentially is going to do the same thing. Okay, so now I'm going to widen my field of view out, And here you can see I've got things that I'll be able to see beyond this wall. That's why I wanted to bring it forward. So I can see the next room there. Bring that up a little bit. But if I bring that right out, you can see, I mean, these two windows are the same size, but this one that's closer to us is going to look, yeah, about 3 times bigger if I widen it out enough to be able to see the whole thing, which is just weird. I know it sometimes gives a really, dramatic effect, and if you use it well, then it can be a good thing, but there it just looks silly. So you just want to watch out for that, and if you're not familiar with those those principles, it's something just to watch out for, because often people, when they want to see more in their camera views, just widen the field of view and don't think about what it's actually doing. So always remember that.
It's like something out of a real estate agent's brochure when they're trying to make it.
Exactly. That's it, exactly. They use, I think they're using like 15mm or even smaller lenses for some of those things. I mean, I've never seen anything less than, I think, 18mm or something. It's about the smallest I've ever seen, like they're taken, on a camera. But you can get smaller ones, I'm sure, can't you? Right, yeah.
I've got a 17.
Yeah, right.
And that's going to be more than 90 degrees, so where you can see wider than
Yeah.
wider
Yeah.
should be enough.
Yeah, you'd think so, but there's some small units out there. So,
And they're trying to make them as spacious as trees.
oh yeah.
It's, I think they're getting done for almost.
Yeah, right. Oh, well, Potts Point, I'd say there's a lot of them. I've been looking around there a bit lately, and there's a lot of small places there. Actually, I had a unit once that was a while ago, but I think all up was like 30 square meters, and it had a separate bedroom, and so it was just tiny. But if it's planned well, some of those, can be all right for one person. But still, yeah, I know they try and make them look much bigger than they are, and yeah, I know they. Well, we even tell our students at Enmore, like in interior design, because we use 3D Studio Max a lot there, so they can set their lens size, and we tell them never use a lens bigger than 24mm, because it just makes it look. If you use an honest lens size, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do need to show some sort of big extra.
yeah,
17.
yeah,
That's really wide.
yeah.
Where-
Oh, no, that's good to know, because I was even a bit worried going down to 20, and sometimes it still makes it look a bit strange when they're really close up.
All the Canon digital cameras, the architectural lenses,
Yeah.
they come in the size of 24 and 17.
Oh, okay, right.
So the two lenses people can use.
Right.
24 will become the primary lens.
Yeah, but for exteriors they'd use
Uh,
something like 35 or something, or
With this camera, you probably find people out doing something that will get around 35.
yeah.
They're using an adapter.
Oh, okay.
Combination on the 24.
Yeah. Right. Oh, good. Yeah, because I'm looking at buying a new camera, so yeah, I can't wait. Actually, it's one of the reasons I want to sell my house, so I can.
I just got a new one. Camera.
Yeah. Oh, look, I've seen some really good deals around, so I'm not going to get one, crazy, $5,000 thing or something. I just want to spend maybe $2,000 or something, but.
The Canon 5D's going.
Yeah, right.
Probably get it. Oh, it's a little more.
Right.
Because people's getting it online.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
It's full size sensor, so you get the widens of the lenses.
Right. No, well, I mean, I probably could even hang out until they do bring the new model out and then get it, then might even be cheaper again. Yeah, I've definitely got to get a new one. Yeah, unfortunately, camera matching in Revit, because you can't set those values accurately, is next to impossible. and because you never know what your focal length is or anything. So
I guess you could attack the
yeah,
screen and
yep,
see that angle.
yep,
Obviously, that angle of lenses.
exactly, yeah, yeah. You can work it out. That's actually what the ArchiCAD guys made us do a few years ago. It's the same in ArchiCAD. It doesn't tell you. So in some of the other programs I use, though, it does tell you the field of view and the focal length at the same time. So they made us print out a big table from some of these Autodesk programs so they could work out the field of view and everything. But you shouldn't have to do it. You know, it's there. The computer knows the software knows what it is, but they don't tell you for some reason. But you can at least change the height and other things in sections. So just like the plan, if you right click on the camera name and go to show camera, you can see the cameras there just like you do in a plan view, and you can adjust the height, and you can't see the target there because the view's cropped, but if I bring that across you'll see the target's about here somewhere. So I'll just go to show camera, and I still can't see it. Okay, bring it across a bit more, and show camera, still can't see it. It's right over here. I thought it was closer than that, but bring it right out, and oh no, it's just past it. Okay, that ought to get it. There we are. Okay, so there's my target, a bit far. I'll bring it back actually. Oh, now sorry, you can't change that in section. You have to go to plan to do that. So back to show camera, but you can see that I can change the camera height and the target height, which can be handy. But once you do that, it's a bit strange. If you go to change the target now in plan, you can see it's locked. It's because it's out of the plane that it started in. So it can be a bit difficult adjusting it beyond that point, but you can still go to your view and then using the steering wheel, if you use the look option, that's changing the target in the camera view itself. That's about all I can show you with cameras. They're pretty limited in Revit, and that's why I always do them in different programs, 3D Studio Max mainly. So going back to the other things I was going to show you. Oh yeah, the louvers. So just see my password should have come through by now. They're a bit slow. The Revit City computers. Here we go. Sorry, there we go. So it should let me get in now. Wrong page. Okay, so it's the most security conscious password setup I've ever seen for a site that really doesn't need it. There we go. What? Okay, I think I'm in. Doesn't even tell me. Okay, so anyhow, if I go to downloads, okay, let's make sure you can see the whole thing. Always keeps changing, but let's Bring that back up. So in canopies, I'm pretty sure they had plenty of useful awnings and things like that. So here we go. So glazed, and I thought that one was okay actually, and you could easily modify that. And I'll probably change the one I've got into that. This is another good one, I think. So lots of things you can download there. I think it's only one page of them, though. Yep. But then in Autodesk Seek, it's under Sunshade. Yep. Here we go. So you've got all these louvered awning things. Instead you put the columns in manually, so you use structural columns for those, but these will easily do the job for any sort of louvered type awning things, and they're from the manufacturer, so that's always a good thing. And yeah, so these I think are pretty close to the ones I'm looking at. And they'll work well with the windows as well, I think. So anyhow, let's download them from there. That's, sorry, different one. Haven't tried this one, so I'll just try that. Anyway, just have to go through those and see which ones work well. So, I don't know if that was the one you're after, Stephen, or something like that. Anyway. So, I'll just load that in. Yeah, look, you can always modify the family. Oh, right.
Yes, just to protect from the sun.
Sure. So you might just need to look on those two.
Maybe like screening or something, some sort of screening.
Yeah, so you may need to just look on the those two sites to see what they've got that's similar to what you're after. Yeah, Revit City and Autodesk Seek are the two big ones, but there are others as well. But you can always start with one like this that's similar to what you're after, and then modify it as well.
What about the angle?
So then, if you want, so again, so this one, if it's not exactly what you want, you may need to edit the family. So here,
Where is Revit City? You got this from Revit City?
I've got this one from Autodesk Seek, but there are plenty of others. So these are all mainly as they come from the manufacturers. Mainly louvers. They're all the kind that go with curtain walls. Generally, those it's a pretty standard sort of element you see these days in this sort of situation.
So Autodesk.
Autodesk Seek. But have a look in Revit City as well. If you want the angled type awning, then they're probably going to be closer to what you're after. But they're glass, and then you can just change the modelling on those. So the columns you probably do as a separate element. Just close this. So just remember, if you're going to put slanted columns in, you need to use structural elements. So I'll this one here. See if I can change any of the parameters. Oh, it's all in inches. I'm not going to worry. I'll just move it over, just so I can put a column under it, and then. Okay, so if you want to put a slanted column in, as long as you use structural column, you can set them to be slanted. And so the first click is going to be on, I want that to be on, ground, that's okay. And then the second click on, I'll make that ground floor ceiling. So they're the two levels I'm working between. And so 1, 2, and that gives me a column that's at an angle. And then now in my isometric view, see there I've got a sloping column. I'd need to line that up with the awning, but that's all there is to it. And you can use any columns you like there. So you can always even just change the family. In structural columns, steel maybe, and just a CHS. And the smallest one might be good there. Maybe a little bit small, but I'm sure you get the idea. Pretty straightforward doing slanted columns.
Would this be your method of setting up the awning?
Yeah. Standard column. I mean, if you're going to put louvers on the columns, I mean, that's not a standard approach. So you'd need to make your own family or model in place anyway to do that. But then for the awning would just be a standard element, and so you should be able to find that or something close to it online. Otherwise, I might make the whole thing from scratch. But if you can find it already done by someone else, then it's much easier. It's a bit thin there, Colin. But anyhow, I'm not going to get rid of it.
So we get it beaten for array or something like that.
So
Array, ARRAY.
No, definitely not. No, don't use structural elements. Overkill, and they work in unusual ways because they're designed for the engineers.
Maybe I can make it a timber beam or something.
Yeah. No. You'd always do it as a family.
A timber stud or something.
No. It's just too much work. And pointless work to do it that way. Just do it as a family. Much easier, and then it's reusable as well. So and that's why Revit is good, because you may not be able to use the family as is, and same with Autodesk Seek, but it'll be close to what you're after, and then you can just modify it. So here that's too narrow, but I can just go to Edit Family, and here it's got a nested family, so I've got to select that object and Edit Family again, but I'd be surprised if it doesn't have a parameter for the width. Here we go. It's outer spacing, which unfortunately is in feet and inches, but where is it? 5 feet. There we are. Now you can change the units anytime you like under Manage, and then Project Units. So I'll just change the length there to millimeters. Okay, so 1524 is the outer spacing, and I'll just change that. So again, on the Home tab in Family Types. So a few different sizes here. I'm going to make a new one and call this just Entry. I don't really care if it has the name format they've used. and put in my own size, so maybe 2400 or something. Doesn't make it onto the wall, that should still be okay. So I'll just try loading that back in. Okay, so I'll just take a second. Okay, so now I can change this to my new size and nudge that over. So, you know, much easier to work that way. Now, oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to show you is how you can get content that isn't set up for Revit. Because you know, there's pretty good resources for Revit, but it's still a relatively new program, so there's not as much as you'll find for other programs and just for 3D generally. So if you look at some of the other sites that just have general 3D elements, you'll find a lot more, but then how do you use that in Revit? So Archive 3D is a well-known one that has plenty of free models. There are lots of others. I think free3dmodels.com is another one that's got tons. If you're prepared to pay, there are much better things. You know, Evermotion and all those people have some amazing things if you're prepared to pay for your models. But this is pretty good. So if you look at the different categories, say you want some chairs and tables, you've got 160 pages like this of chairs, all completely free, and pretty reasonable quality models as well. If you want to use a high-end 3D program, you can easily jazz them up a bit and make them into perfect models. I've done it quite a few times, but as is, they're still pretty good. So you know, got all these different categories here. It's a really good resource. This is just one of many. There are dozens of sites like this that you'll find. So if you're looking for any sort of detailed 3D elements, it's much better to look at these than sometimes the things set up just for Revit, because it is a bit limited what you'll get. And
That shows how you can select.
oh yeah, I'm going to do that. That's yeah. So I'm going to bring that right in now. So now I was going to try and find something a bit more officey. I've been mainly doing residential lately, and so I thought they did have a cabinets and shelves. Let's see what they've got there. Thought they'd have some really officey sort of things. Here we go, office equipment. That's what I'm after. So you may want a computer on a desk or something. I'll do that if I can't find a nice reception desk. Here we go, that's... Why have they called that back? That looks like a reception desk to me. Okay, that's a reception desk, I don't know where that name came from. So, to download them, it's a bit strange. On this site, they don't have a download button, but you click on the image and that'll do it for you. So, download now, and this one I'm going to say, I'm not going to try and open it directly. And so, just going to put it in with my Revit file. So, saving that. Okay, now, if you try and bring it directly into Revit, sometimes it's very difficult to make it work properly. So there's the file. I'm just going to extract that by right-clicking on it. You need WinZip if you haven't got it. It's worth getting it. I'm using WinRAR, which is really similar, but they're mostly zip files, so WinZip will do it. And so So now I've got a folder here, reception desk, and they are, well, there's a GSM file, but there's also a 3ds file. 3ds is the easier format to work with. So you can bring those into 3D Studio Max, and if I was doing this myself, that is definitely what I'd do. But if you're not familiar with that, just use AutoCAD, and it's sometimes better than 3ds Max, or even after I bring them into 3ds Max. If I want to get them into Revit, sometimes I'll bring them into AutoCAD anyway, because the way it stores DWG files is a bit different, and to get it into Revit, usually you've got to make it a DWG. You can bring in SATs, ACES solids, but they don't always work, so DWG is a good format to use. Okay, I should have started this up before, but it's nearly there. It's crazy. AutoCAD's such a big program now, for one that people just use for 2D most of the time. Okay, so just import that file. You do have to work on them a little bit, both in AutoCAD and in Revit. So I'm just going to type in import. It's on the ribbon somewhere, but I always forget, they move it around, so typing in import will always give you the import dialog. And so I'm just going to browse to that folder. And make sure it's on 3ds down here. So you can see all the formats that you can import with AutoCAD. That actually isn't the full list, but the 3D models, that covers most of them. So I'll import that file and just add all. Yep, so okay. Just with default options, double click with the wheel to zoom extents, and then shift with the wheel held down will orbit. So we've got all these objects here. Now, it's worth separating them out into different layers so it's easier to assign materials in Revit. So I'm just going to go into a shaded view so it's a bit easier to see what it looks like. So I'm just going to change to, so with the 3D modeling interface, that's much easier, and then shaded with edges. And I can see how this looks. Yep, that looks pretty good. I mean, you could make that in Revit, but you know, why worry when you can get it for nothing? So just make a few layers, and so layer manager. I probably just want 3 layers. I'll just go with, so you can see all these layers here that come in. I don't really want those, so I'm just going to make 3D perception glass, 3D perception desk, I'll just call it, and 3D perception stainless. Okay, so let's make them different colours. Almost at random. Okay, and then go in and just put these onto those different layers. So my glass there at the top can go onto glass layer. As I do them, I'm just going to turn the layers off so I know I've got everything I want. Yep, it's all good. These are all going to be separate objects, so they all need to be selected individually. There we go. They can all go onto my stainless layer. And I should have changed colour. Oh, I didn't make that a different colour. Okay, let's change that now. That change. I'm just going to turn that layer off. Yep, doing it. And I might make the bands stainless as well, I suppose, just to make it a bit more interesting. So I'll put them all onto that that layer as well. Now, that looks pretty good. Yep. And so onto the stainless layer, they'll disappear. And then everything else onto the desk layer. So now I'm just going to bring my layers back, turn them on. There we go. Type purge, and then just purge all, and that'll purge out all the extra things like the layers and other things that I don't want. So I'm just going to yes, purge all items. There we go. So that now will give me a much smaller list of layers to work with. Okay, so we're going to save this file to the same folder. Okay, so now that can be brought into Revit. Now you've got to remember it's only for the 3D that I want all those things. For the 2D, I'm going to do a simplified version. It just looks messy when you see all those things from the 3D model in a plan or something like that. So I'll just use I'll use metric casework for the family, I think, or no, I'll just use metric generic model. Okay, now I just actually want to check something. I didn't check the size, and so I'm going to measure. If you don't know, DI in AutoCAD is the shortcut for distance. I'm just going to measure roughly across here, and it's 247 mil, so that's too small. I think they've used centimetres for the units here, so I'm just going to type SC for scale, type all to select everything, and base point I'll just use 0,0, and then my scale factor 10. Double click with the wheel, zoom extents, and then distance again to measure across the front just roughly. So about 3 meters, which is probably about right. Okay, so again just Control S now to save that. Back into Revit, and then under the Insert tab I can go to Import CAD, find that file. So training, section desk, and there it is. Now the import units, I'm going to force it to millimeters just in case it picks it up as inches, and that's it. Open. Okay, so there it is. Now I don't want to see this in plan. Probably won't look terrible if I go to a hidden line view. Now, it's okay, but it's not really right. So I'm going to select that object and then go to visibility settings. I'm just going to turn plan RCP off, so it won't show in plan. But I want to see something in plan, so for that, under annotate, I'm going to draw some symbolic lines. So they'll only show up in the plan view, they won't show up in 3D or side view sections and elevations. So just using symbolic lines there, I can pick, and that line type there, generic models projection, is fine. So it's going to pick the edges of my, well, so I was going to try and pick the edges of this arc, but it's not coming in as an arc, so I'm going to draw an arc over that instead. That'll be okay. and then using again symbolic lines with pick now, I can put in an offset value. Now I'll just measure that. So what is it, 240 roughly, and then we've got another 440. So there we go, and now 440. Doesn't need to be exactly the same size. Cabinet makers won't be measuring off your plan to build the unit anyway. And then some lines at the end will probably be enough. Okay, so there we go. And so now I'm just going to check my 3D view. Zoom to fit. There's my 3D model, and in a shaded view, that's all coming through. I won't give it materials just yet, but just so you know how, under the Manage tab, if you go to Object Styles, you've got to go to Imported Objects, and that's where you find the AutoCAD layers, and so you can assign all the materials there. Actually, maybe I will. I'm right here, so I'll just do that right now. It's pretty straightforward. So I've got the glass layer selected, so I'll assign a glass material, but I'll duplicate it and make it glass reflective. And here I can just change that that glass to, here we go, clear reflective, and I don't want that horrible blue, so I'm just going to make that lighter, and that's okay. Then the other same thing, so glass, stainless for this one, so I'll just start with glass again, duplicate, metal, put chrome because I know stainless is a material already being used. So we can be straightforward, choose it from the library. That'll do. And the desk, I'll just make a basic timber or something. So it doesn't really matter which one I start with, I'll just duplicate this, and so they like to call it wood, timber, desk or something, I'll just call it. Use render appearance for shading, and under appearance I'll just grab a basic wood. Okay, so that's all ready to go, and save that. I've got to save the file. So now that's ready to be used in my project. So loading the project. Better go to the right level. Okay, so you can see in plan, it's got that nice simplified view without all the 3D things that you don't want to see there. But then in the 3D view, you should be able to see it in this one. Okay, you can see it there, so that's going to render really well. Okay, so even in Revit, which isn't a full 3D program, you can get pretty reasonable results, but it helps if you use some other programs and different resources to get those things. So that's it. I'll I'll get this one rendering, but I'll finish the recording now. But I don't know if you saw how it ended up last week, but it's rendering much better now. I mean, there's still a lot more I'd like to do with it, but it's much better than the awful renders I was getting at the beginning. So I'll set this a different name. So anyhow, I'll finish the recording there.